a bad week before? And what about feeling down or depressed? And finally, how many of you have ever been diagnosed with a mental illness? It's not a question many of us are willing to answer. Bad mental health affects 1 in 4 of us, which means a quarter of us sitting here in this room will experience it at some point in our lives. I know what it's like, because I am one of them. I was first diagnosed with depression over 10 years ago. Bad mental health has shaped much of my adult life. Having depression has lost me opportunities in education, jobs, and relationships. But far worse than any of that is dealing with the associated stigma. This afternoon, I want to tell you about the inspiring work of the Time to Change project, what they're doing to combat the negative stigma and discrimination surrounding mental health, how the project has helped me personally, and why it needs people like you to get involved. 9 out of 10 people who have mental health issues experience stigma and discrimination, which is sometimes worse than the symptoms themselves. I believe it's time for a change. It's time for a change in how we perceive mental health. It's time for a change in behaviour, and it's time for a change in the associated stigma. 3/4 of the UK population know someone with mental health problems. There are so many common misconceptions about these illnesses. I might have mental health problems, but I don't look depressed all the time. Just because I'm suffering from depression, it doesn't make me suicidal. And having a long-term mental health problem doesn't make me a danger to myself or society. Once we remove these misconceptions, we can address mental health issues in a more positive light. Time to Change are doing this. The simple act of starting a conversation. By encouraging positive discussions about mental illness, they're empowering people to feel confident talking about these issues without the fear of discrimination. Time to Change have a number of wonderful projects aimed at engaging people across sectors and communities and encouraging short dialogues. They also work with organisations to improve policy and practice surrounding mental health discrimination, and they have high-profile media campaigns covering TV, print and social media, reaching almost 30 million people and changing attitudes and behaviours. I'm sure we all read in the media about the recent German Wings tragedy, but are you aware that headlines such as the Daily Mail's "Suicide pilot had a long history of depression. Why on earth was he allowed to fly?" add to the stigma surrounding mental health? Through their media advisory service, Time to Change want to ensure that factual and fictional portrayals of people with mental health problems that appear in the media are accurate, and they offer help and support to writers, reporters and journalists to get their facts right and report these issues responsibly. I'm not saying talking about mental health issues in an open manner is going to cure you. If only it was that easy. But what it does do, and why I believe this project is so important, is it stops you from feeling alone. And this is one of the most important things you can do for someone. I first came across the Time to Change project through one of their campaigns on Twitter. Seeing people use the Time to Talk hashtag to be open and honest about their feelings on a public platform was a defining moment for me. I realised I had a choice about my own problems. I acknowledged that yes, I was suffering from this terrible, soul-destroying illness, but I wouldn't let it define me as a person, and I wouldn't hide away from it anymore. Using Time to Talk to be open about my own issues, I could build a support network of people I knew I could talk to without fear of judgment. This in turn gave me the confidence I needed to talk to my own family, friends and work colleagues. 4 years ago, I was going through a bit of a rough patch and I'd been signed off work. The first thing I did when I returned was I sent a short email round to all my work colleagues explaining why I'd been off and a link to the Time to Change website. Let me ask you a question. How would you respond if you received a similar email from a work colleague? Would you ignore it and pretend you hadn't seen it? Or would you welcome their openness and offer your support? The response I received was truly heartwarming. By being open and honest and showing that this wasn't something I was ashamed of, I had started a discussion, one that my colleagues were only too happy to engage in. So think about this. 1 in 4 of us will suffer from mental health problems at some point, and 3/4 of us know someone who is going through this right now. This is not a hidden problem. So why are we treating it like one? The only way we can stop this stigma is for each and every one of us to challenge it. We can talk. Even small conversations can show people with mental health that it's not something to be ashamed of. And that conversation can really mean a lot to someone in your life. It hasn't been easy to stand up in front of you all and talk about a subject that society still sees as taboo. But I know from personal experience how important projects like Time to Change are and how it can benefit people in our local community. But it needs people like you. Without the support I received, I would not be standing here today to give this talk. Removing the stigma associated to mental health isn't difficult or scary or complicated. It begins with a simple conversation, and I want you to start it. Thank you.